the process of implementing that act. So as far as legislation is concerned, I think I must really appreciate that our legislators are really supportive. If there is anywhere we see there is a gap, whenever we work with them, we are able actually to provide that legislation that is needed. But as for now, I think from the lessons learned, we are on course. We are coming up with some of the legislation where we have seen there's a gap, that be able to strengthen the public health sector, the public health response, emergency response. You see, that is one of the areas that we found our weaknesses. So we have legislation that is really addressing the issues of the emergency operations, the response, where we found that there were some weak. We are actually increasing trainings of the people concerned with emergency response, and the issues of, for example, the fund, emergency fund, that was noted there. I think it is being, there is a registration to operationalize that. So I can say that you cannot have 100%, but we have quite pretty good legislations around the actually the healthcare delivery system. So we, by the time we implement the Health Act 2017, I think we have actually strengthened that legislative aspect of it.
Dr. your final words as we wrap up in regards to the second dose and the second exercise that we are currently in as we speak.
Thank you so much. My only parting shot is that I am thanking all those who came out to receive the first dose, and now it has come a time where we must get the second dose. I want to assure each one of them that we have the vaccines which will get the second dose, and please come to the facilities. It may not necessarily be the facility where you got it, but anywhere where there is a vaccination, you go there, you will be attended to. We want to assure Kenyans that we are receiving, as I said, 400,000 doses from Denmark, and that we have to use them within 2 weeks. So I am asking and urging people to come for their second dose before the vaccines can expire.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for giving me this chance, and thank you, Kenyans, for listening. Looking forward to seeing a number of people queuing for their second dose.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Daktari. I've been speaking to Dr. Onyancha Pacifica, who is the acting head of the Directorate of Preventive and Promotive Health at the Ministry of Health. And we have been touching on the second dose, which, of course, a lot has been said, but she has confirmed that you will receive your second dose, and there are other options that the ministry is also exploring. That is where we put a cap. But when we come back, we talk about a 117-year-old town that is just a step away from becoming a city. We're talking about Nakuru. Others like to call it Nax Vegas. It's a hub of sports, a hub of politics, a hub of also entertainment and tourism. We'll be right back.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Was it you?
He has a gift for you. Take a look. What's wrong? You said Yuko abandoned him and his mom, and that's why his mother died. Is that right?
Can you see me, Daddy? I'm on the big wheel. Can you see me? Dad, can you see me? Dad, did you abandon me and Mom?
Sean, wake up! Don't scare me. Are you okay?
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
You have killed it. The love that I had for you on that very day you married my brother.
Amaya married Cesar, and Max and Constanza are back together again because of their child.
Lucretia is capable of anything. even getting rid of anyone in her way. Like Omar.
But if Cesar is not Mr. Mauro's son, some hope has opened up for me, Caro. Because once I get to the truth, I don't know in what form or in what manner, but I will fight to my last breath for the love of Max.
I'm almost sure that those two had an accomplice here inside. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made it.
And if I don't want her near me, it's to protect her. It's for her own good.
To protect her from whom?
Unichukulie kwa mfano ndani ya matatu.
Yaani mtu mzima na miaka zake hizo miaka zote. Mtu ajui kujua kuandika note. Note tu peke yake. Kusoma kweli itasaidia.
Nini nakusumbua na mimi?
Nauliza. Ni bwana.
There. Insult me, okay?
Mama Angel.
Don't you dare.
Haya, kwani ni vita? Nini wewe? Yaani wataka kumpiga. Huwezi mpika mpige nini?
Next on.
Hakuna nipataje kabisa.
Wewe ngoja usifiwe hata kujisifu mwenyewe.
Wanasifu kitambo. Wewe ushana mimi nikikaa hapa bila kupata wateja. Wewe Aisha. Sasa ukiva hivyo ndio maisha hivi.
Si nafanya mazoezi lakini huu mchanga huu.
Mazoezi ya nini? Mazoezi gani?
Si ile kazi niliyopata sinaanza mwezi ujao.
Nini inaendelea hapa? Wewe Sudi, ni mambo gani haya?
Sudi ni nani?
Sudi ni mimi. Hata nguo zangu unavaa. Basi. Sawa. Who is the boss here? Ni wewe. Then who is this?
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Was it you?
He has a gift for you. Take a look. What's wrong? You said Yuko abandoned him and his mom, and that's why his mother died. Is that right?
Can you see me, Daddy? I'm on the big wheel. Can you see me, Dad? Can you see me? Dad, did you abandon me and Mom?
Shang, wake up! Don't scare me. Are you okay?
Next on.
Wazee wa majanga. Hawa wanaishi kwa vituko. Mambo yao ya kubwaga majanga kila leo.
Ule mkataba ndio huu.
07 100 84 1000 8820.
Hizi namba zote hizi ni za nini hizi?
Probox. Hii sio karatasi ya mkataba.
Game is over.
Wazungu sema it's okay.
Next on.
Mara ya mwisho ulikuwa na Nancy ilikuwa ni?
I know they'll be coming for me soon.
Sichukue ndege moja uende South Africa ukajifishage huko.
I have built too much here in Kenya to just walk away.
Kusikiliza Kenya Tiffany walikuwa na piano na Eriko hapa nje nikasido.
Nani alikuwa amekutuma? Wayu ni kuongea ukweli tu ukweli. Sasa nani alikuwa amekutuma? Wewe. Mlikuwa mnapia nini?
Na nani?
Sina Tiffany.
Mbona?
Nataka nijue kama niko kasi.
Someone you can leave. I'm sure Wayuni will feel in.
Oh.
Maji mimi hata niliashaga opea na udaku. Siku hizi mimi nikiongeleshwa na mtu kitu inaisiaga hapo hapo.
Welcome back to News Check. I'm Ben Troy Njoe, and now we are changing from matters health to the latest city. Just a step away, because on 3rd of June, Nakuru was officially endorsed by the Senate for a city status after the Senate voted unanimously to support the same. And of course, what is just remaining is for President Uhuru Kenyatta to give it a city charter. But to help us delve into this matter, I'm joined by Chairman Emeritus of the Transition Authority of Kenya, who is Kinuthia Wamwangi. Of course, he will tell us all about how and what it takes for a municipality to be later crowned as a city. But before then, we had a sit down. Of course, our very own Daniel Wahome had a sit down with the Nakuru Governor, Ali Kinyanjui, on the same. Let's first of all listen to it, then get back to this live conversation.
On the 3rd of June 2021, the Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations Committee of the Senate held a debate about an application by the municipality of Nakuru to be elevated to city status. It was accepted, and that means it now goes to His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta so that a charter could be awarded. Kenya has got one country that has, one city that has been awarded a charter, and we are talking about Nairobi City. It was awarded a charter 61 years ago. And about 20 years ago, Kisumu and Mombasa were given city status by former President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. The conversation about their charter is still out there, but there is this application. It's been 2 years in the working and looks like we could have another city. The background for it: population 250,000 people minimum, and the capacity to support the revenue and also public service works that are part of it. Simple word: utilities. Nakuru County Governor, the Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, speaks about this. The first question that I would like to put forward is the concept of having Nakuru municipality elevated to city status.
Thank you. So I want to confirm that from around 2017-2018, we mapped out the whole of Nakuru, specifically the municipal part of it, and we tried to look at ways in which we can be able to spur economic growth, increase the infrastructural investments, and also create employment for our people. And it became necessary to look at both the level or the categorization of Nakuru at that particular time. And after further consultation, it was felt that we needed to elevate ourselves so that we could reach a level where we could also be able to attract more investment, more tourists, more industrialists, and so on and so forth. We therefore made an application through the county assembly. I set a committee that looked into those issues. A report was made to the county assembly. We later on presented that report to the Senate, and it has been a long journey until the 3rd of June, when the Senate consented to our request. But of importance is the fact that being the fourth city in Kenya, sometimes people say, do you want to develop, then become a city, or do you become a city and therefore attract development? So we are very conscious. By that categorization of Nakuru as a city, we're going to attract huge investments, both from government, from private players, and even those who are already here and investing in one area, they will want to expand. So we see the fortunes of Nakuru changing dramatically in the coming days, and we are happy to be part of that journey.
One of the biggest legacies of Nakuru is its cleanliness. We grew up learning about Nakuru being the cleanest town in East Africa. I think Moshi overtook you, then you took it back in 2011. Tell us about the water, sanitation, and waste management status of Nakuru at the moment.
Okay, we have had challenges because in the last 10 years, the population has nearly doubled. Sometimes when you have a good reputation, it has also the unintended consequence of attracting more people, and consequently the population gets big. With a bigger population than what you can host, you have all those attendant issues like trading places, cleanliness, and all that. And therefore, to that extent, those are the issues now we want to address under the city platform, where, like we said, we are going to have city marshals, city cleaners, and all those sort of issues. But bottom line, we also want now to come up with, every city has its own personality, its own theme. And the theme of cleanliness must be part of Nakuru. And no matter how many cleaners we get, the first thing is to ensure you don't drop that banana,
Banana peel on this.
Yeah, so the cleanliness does not start when the cleaner comes. It starts with you not dropping it wherever you want to put it. And I know many people will get into the vehicle, buy some yogurt, finish it, and just throw it outside. So it's a really sort of culture change that we really want to inculcate, and I believe it is possible. We have started the journey. We want everybody to be part of this conversation, and I believe in another 5 or so years, people will see a different part of Nakuru. And because of the geographical positioning of Nakuru, just like 150 to Nyeri, 150 to Eldoret, to Kisumu, some 200 to, all the big places, including Nairobi. So in terms of the centrality and making business decisions for anybody who wants to set up base, Nakuru offers a major attraction. So ours is to improve the infrastructure to be able to hold some of these things that otherwise will come and improve where we're going.
Nakuru is a transit town. The highway to the west passes through the city. You could tell us about that, the road networks, and also how to plan an important aspect of every urban place in the country, public transport.
So with respect to road connections, I think, like I said, we have good road connection with, Kericho, with Kisumu, Eldoret, Nyeri, Nairobi. But the route from Nairobi to Nakuru has been suffering from congestion, trucks, and all that. And for that reason, at one level, there is a revival of the railway, which will help us to remove part of the cargo from the road to the rail. And then there's a dualing of the road from Nairobi to here, which again is going to make sure that the road is expanded, and therefore we have a better traffic flow and reduced time. We actually anticipate that a drive from Nairobi to Nakuru will on average take 1 hour 20 minutes upon the completion of the expressway. So these are huge attractions when it comes to connection by road. We have also started the construction of the Lanet Airport, which is also going to give Nakuru the aviation sort of connection across East Africa. So when you put all this together, and with that again comes other opportunities, both for business and also for other aspects of enterprise and tourism and all those issues. So in terms of connection, there is a huge approach towards streamlining our connection network.
How far has Nakuru gone on improving the facilities that were taken over from the national government and also the former local authorities?
I think when it comes to health, we have basically looked at it from an infrastructure point of view, which means increase the bed capacity, increase our theaters and so on. And in all our sub-counties, we have been able to put up a level 4 hospital. It's only in Subukia and Rongai that we are starting in the coming financial year. But in all these others, we have already started something. It's also important to note that we have introduced some services that were previously not there, including oncology, which was really a big challenge for people who had to travel for cancer treatment in Nairobi. On the issue of personnel, we have also looked for specialists so that some of those conditions that would require that we refer patients to far and wide are also addressed within reach. So I think as we move forward, there is a major transformation within the health subsector, and I think we now want to invest in more equipment, more diagnostic equipment, and more specialty sort of approach. In partnership with the national government, we're also coming up with a mental hospital in Gilgil, because we also know that this is one of the areas that has been largely ignored, and one that we need to also work around with. So I guess that's where we are for now. And our emergency response, we are on the major highway, on the corridor. And because of that, there are major traffic, sometimes we have accidents and all that. So we would want to also upgrade our emergency response capabilities to ensure that whatever emergency comes, we can be able to deal with it. And I think this goes a long way in terms of also reducing the risk. Every city has a risk factor, and the degree to which you can respond to emergency contributes to that significantly. We have also adopted a preventive sort of approach, so we are investing in what you call community health workers, people at the very grassroots level who know this is Jane and this is Peter, and they can be able to advise them on their dietary and other sort of issues. So we are dealing with it also from a micro level and also at a very basic family unit level.
One of the things that the Senate considered heavily was the ability of Nakuru to sustain a city status through revenue collection. What's the plan for that to sustain the services and also make the expected city attractive for the business community?
I think revenue collection is a very critical element of every city because you have expenses and you have to meet those expenses. You have services you want to deliver and they must be met. So how do you meet this? So it's important that we try and introduce an efficiency angle, and this is what the Nakuru Revenue Authority is meant to do. So we'll be trying to employ technology, we'll be trying to employ efficiency and professionalism, and our focus mainly is not necessarily to increase the rates and so on, but just to have a higher compliance. Those who are supposed to pay and pay on time. And in return, they can be able now to come up and demand for services because they have paid. We have noted in the past that only about 40% of the people pay for the services. That therefore means that the 40 have to pay for the 100%, so they get overburdened. And that's a conversation we want to engage the residents of Nakuru.
Nakuru County is working with the World Bank, the Urban Development Grant. Tell us about the impact of this facility from the Bretton Woods institution.
The Kenya Urban Support Program is a program within the World Bank to help the municipalities and other urban areas to develop their infrastructure, and in particular to develop resilience so that they can be able to meet the challenges of urbanization. So here in Nakuru, some of the programs that we are working together with the World Bank include the stadium, the fire engine, some drainage works that we are already doing. And I think moving forward, we are also planning to put street lights and some of those other traffic lighting to manage and control traffic. And all these programs are going to help us to make cities more livable and more user-friendly, and cities that anybody can live, including creation of walkways where people can walk, even the disabled can use their wheelchairs and that kind of thing, motorizing the non-motorized traffic to make it easy. And I think when you do that, when you create walkways, you encourage people to walk, because nobody's going to walk in a road they think they'll be knocked down. So you now begin to see more people walking, therefore a healthy lifestyle, and you avoid some of the conditions that come with a sedentary kind of life.
What opportunities are there that overall for the general public, people who may want to come back to Nakuru when it has the city status?
I think now we are actually coming up with a document that's going to outline that. Are you a farmer? What are the opportunities? Are you a medical professional? What are the opportunities? Are you an industrialist? What are the opportunities? But in a nutshell, I think in every aspect of life that you may want to think of, Nakuru will offer that kind of opportunity. If you talk of transport and logistics, if you talk of ICT, if you talk of developers, if you talk of agriculture, you may know that within Rift Valley, this really was the headquarters. And if Rift Valley is a breadbasket of Kenya then, and you're thinking in the agro industry, then the place to be is Nakuru. So I think we really just need to redefine ourselves, who we are, attract the investors. We have geothermal in Nakuru, and this geothermal can be a major driver in terms of attracting industries here into Nakuru. So all these conversations will play into more opportunities, and depending on where you are, you will be able to find space in Nakuru.
Governor of Nakuru County, the Honorable Nick Kinyanjui, he's given us his insight and the opportunities that are going to come as he waits for Nakuru municipality to get the presidential charter to become a city. It will be Kenya's 4th city after Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu, the 4th largest urban area in the country. Let's wait for that and enjoy the county of opportunities. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. This is News Check, and from now to about midnight, we'll be looking at that, Nakuru's new status. Talk about Nakuru. It's a hotbed of politics. I don't even need to go there. We also have it as a business hub. We also have leisure and tourism, which is quite something there in the county of Nakuru. And of course, we have it as a transit town where gives a good gateway to counties like Kisumu and towns like Eldoret. So what does it take for a municipality to be given a city charter? Because that's only thing that Nakuru County has to do. And the president, if he issues that charter, we will be having Kenya's 4th city after Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, and now we'll be having the new city of Nakuru. Of course, I'll be joined by Chairman Emeritus of the Transition Authority of Kenya, Kinuthia Wamwangi. Of course, 5 years down the line after the Transition Authority completed its work, its effects are very, very strong, if you ask me, and when it comes to the process of making Nakuru the next big city. Of course, we had a conversation here earlier which we could give rise to other municipalities or counties seeking the city status, and that is exactly what we'll be discussing here. And now I'm joined by Chairman Emeritus Kinuthia Wamwangi. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Yes, actually, earlier we were talking about the Transition Authority completed its work 5 years ago, but its effects are still being felt. And perhaps you can shed light on what you had been mandated to do as an authority.
Thank you very much, Ben. There are a lot of things that we were required to do because we are creating a new system of governance in Kenya. A new system of governance.
Under the new constitution?
Under the new constitution 2010.
Yes.
Because we were moving from a central government or a centralized system of governance to a devolved system of governance. What does that mean? It means that you have to reorganize government. And when I talk like that, people sometimes think that I'm exaggerating. It's really reorganizing because it was all in the acts. All we were doing was to implement. So we created 47 county governments. And there was one national government. So there were 48 governments. And literally, these are governments which had governmental powers. And as you can see, one of the things we were supposed to devolve is power itself. So you have to enable a government, a county government, to look like a government. And that's why you find even governors today are very powerful, because we had to structure it in such a way that they were not just local authorities. People must see the difference between a county council and a county government.
Yes.
So there are a lot of things we did then, because there were functions to be devolved. There are functions, and when you say devolve, you have to divide those functions because they are being performed by the national government. You have to divide them into parts. You say this one goes to the national government, this one goes to the county government. I'm trying to put it in very simplistic terms.
Yes. Okay.
So that's what we did. And at the end of the day, we swore in 47 governors. The president was also sworn. And we have a similar thing, like we have assumption of office of the president. There is also assumption of office of a governor. So it's very, it replicates the national level type of governance. Yes.
And 5 years down the line, what can you say at least you are able to achieve in those in at least the period that you had been mandated as an authority?
It is very difficult to say, even in a program like this, what we achieved,
we
because
in
it is very immense. It is very immense.
Yes.
First, when you say you created 47 county governments, we devolved something called functions. We devolved personnel. We devolved resources. We devolved power. So one of the things that people probably will never appreciate is that we produced systems that were the same all over the country. So how you govern Mandera is the same way you govern Kisumu, is the same way you govern Busia. And I don't think there is anyone in this country who has seen a difference between the way Governor Nanok runs his and the way Governor Mvurya runs their counties. They are the same. So that uniformity was a major achievement. Because if it was left to the fiat of individuals, there would be definite chaos in this country. I hope you agree with that.
Yes, yes.
Because everybody would say, this is mine, this is what belongs to me.
Yes.
But we told them, no, the cake is cut equally for everybody. So we share it among the 47. If the functions, same functions, and we devolved the functions to each county individually. It was not like...
You're dealing with each entity.
Each entity, let me say I gazetted functions to each county individually, and I say, these are your functions. So you can't go outside these functions. And that's what is in the Kenya Gazette. If it is power, we said, these are your delimitation of your powers as a governor, as a county assembly, and you know, county assembly, when you talk of a county government, it means it is the assembly and county assembly and the executive, which means the governor and his lot. Yes.
Indeed. And perhaps it's a long conversation that we can have.
Probably I can add a little
yes.
and say that what we devolved, the functions we devolved were those that were service delivery functions. That's why we say a lot of things that were done by the national government were taken to the counties so that people can access those services at household level. Yes.
Okay. And perhaps to our topic of discussion today on the Nakuru being a city, of course, just awaits the president's charter.
Yes.
What exactly, in a nutshell?
Yes.
Because, of course, there are other towns here in Kenya that perhaps are also equally as good, if not good as Nakuru.
Yes.
But they have not been given that. And, of course, the legislation process is done. Senate did their work on 3rd of June, and it's now the president's job to give the charter. What does it take for a county or a town or a municipality to be given the charter of a city?
Yeah, of the city. First of all, there is a hierarchy. There is a hierarchy of ascension. You start from a market as recognized by the Act 2019, Urban Areas and Cities 2019, there is a market. Then you graduate to a town. Then from a town, you graduate to a municipality. Then from a municipality, you graduate to a city. But just because we are witnessing in the new dispensation the raising of a city. In the past, I'm sure even when you are just grown up, you saw Kisumu and Mombasa being raised to city status.
Yes.
There were no procedures for doing so.
We didn't see them being given a charter?
No, that was a presidential discretion.
Okay.
It was like a political decision. But now there is a clear procedure defined by the Constitution, defined by the Act. So we should not try to put methodology into a creation of a status, because we want to keep it simple and clear. Anyone can be a city as long as you are qualified in accordance with the Act and in accordance with the Constitution. So what does it take? There is something called Schedule 1 of all the functions or services that you're able to render as a city. There are all those functions listed in Schedule 1 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act. Of those functions and services you're supposed to render as a municipality, as a town, as a market center. So if you feel, as a governor, I have the wherewithal, and I have these services and I'm rendering them, or I'm just about to introduce them, like having a referral hospital, like having, you know. So what you do is you apply to the minister to appoint a committee. A committee, minister for devolution, to constitute a committee. That committee has 2 ministries, the Ministry of Devolution included. It has the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, and they are the chair. And then the governor will appoint 3 people.
Okay.
Then the professionals and other associations will appoint 3 other people. And these people are the ones now who come to the city to verify that you have all those things you're saying.
Including checking the population and stuff.
Everything.
Hold the thought. Let's now cross over to Mombasa, where the 18th annual conference of internal auditors is currently underway, and our reporter Junei Karisa is following up on that. Junei, if you can hear me, kindly update us.
Good morning, Bentro. We're coming to you live from Mombasa, where 350 internal auditors from across the country are converged here for their 18th annual conference. I'm told this is the second largest conference for the internal auditors to happen in Africa. So I'm joined with the chairperson just to tell us what these internal auditors will be taking home after this particular conference. The Controller of Budgets has just left the podium, and of course he has taken a message of urging them to observe integrity and uphold integrity in their line of work. I'm joining the chairperson just to tell us some of the loopholes probably that exist in some of the system and what they can go home with after all the guest speakers have spoken today. Karibu sana. Just tell us today, what is the message that you want these auditors to go back home with, and how they can strengthen the internal control systems for the various departments that they hold.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is David Wagasha, the chairman of the Internal Audit Institute of Internal Auditors Kenya chapter. Internal Auditors is a global, IA Global is a global chapter, and I'm the chairman of the Institute of Internal Audit. We are hosting our 18th annual conference, and we have one of the largest congregation of internal auditors outside of South Africa, and the key message is to ensure that we're trying to ensure that our auditors have agility and resilience in what we do given the current COVID times. And how do we achieve that? We continue to strengthen the internal audit. That's why we are holding this conference. We have great speakers today. One of the roles of the internal auditors is to ensure that governance, that's a board and management and even within government, risk, we mitigate the risk and we ensure that it's proper compliance. As far as issues in the country are concerned, there are 3 lines of defense. The first one is management, the second one is compliance, the third one is internal audit. So internal auditors' role is to ensure that they prevent and detect fraud, and to ensure that we safeguard the assets of our organizations. Which organizations are these? We're talking about the national government, county government, and the private sector governments. So one of the things that we are actually working towards now is, since this is our 18th conference, we're actually now 18 years old. We're looking for an ID. This ID card is a bill, so we're working with key stakeholders within the government to ensure that we get a bill to strengthen the internal auditors and make sure that the internal auditor is placed in the right position so that the internal auditor can be able to give proper oversight and add value to the organization. What do I mean by this? For instance, if you look at a company, if the internal auditor is a senior management, then they are able to oversight and they're able to review controls, governance issues, risk issues, and compliance issues, and report to management and to the board. So these issues we see about corruption and fraud, we're able to prevent them. rather than waiting for them to happen and then we complain, internal auditors, once the internal audit function is strengthened, we're able to prevent the issues of mismanagement of funds and assets and even fraud. So we're able to prevent, and then we're also able to detect in good time. Then we avoid a lot of losses.
Statistically, where does the internal auditor lie in terms of corruption? Is he the first person to cause it, to propel it, or where does he lie?
In terms of corruption and fraud, the internal auditor is a third line of defense. We have something called 3 lines of defense. The first line of defense is the executive. The executive includes the executive both in management, in private sector and public sector. The second line of defense includes the compliance managers and risk managers. Then the third line of defense is the auditor. So the auditor is the third line of defense, given the positioning and the power. The person who is supposed to prevent fraud and corruption is actually the executive, because they're the ones. A good example is who signs the check when you're paying out for something. It's executive and finance and all that. But the auditor comes in after the fact. So once we strengthen the internal audit position, then we ensure that the auditor is involved through the process to ensure that we safeguard our assets. So the auditor is on the third line of defense. The first one, as I've said, is executive. The second one is compliance departments, and the third one is the auditors.
Okay, where are we as a country? Are we doing good? Are we doing bad in terms of corruption?
From my own experience across Africa, I think in Africa, in terms of strengthening the internal audit, Southern Africa is ahead of us, then we have East Africa, and then West Africa. So we have seen tremendous growth in the last 18 years in terms of the government has put in a lot of focus. For instance, this conference, we have significant government participation, which clearly shows that the government is keen on trying to ensure that they strengthen the internal audit in the fight against corruption and fraud, and against ensuring we safeguard our assets. So that's a position.
Going home, what are some of the things that they can do so that they can ensure that the executive knows their role better and when it comes to managing fraud in the country?
Going home, I think one thing we did last month, May was the Internal Audit Awareness Month, so we mobilized the auditors to inform, to ensure that within the organizations where they work, everyone is aware about internal audit. So what we're doing as an institute is to strengthen internal audit. I've talked about the Institute of Internal Auditors Bill that will ensure the internal audit is strengthened. So that's one of the things we're focusing on. Number 2, we're also encouraging auditors to embrace technology, because technology is the way forward now, and most of them are working from home, so the ones who have technology are able to work effectively. And the issue of technology also brings in the issue of big data or data analysis, because today we no longer review manual documents, but we review data that is automated. So we're asking them to embrace technology, and finally we're asking them to embrace agility in ensuring that we don't use an old approach to address the new situation. So we are empowering the auditors to have agile audit plans to ensure that they can be able to address the current issues. Yes.
Asante sana. That was the chairperson of the internal auditors who are here for their 18th annual conference in Mombasa. And of course, we will be engaging more stakeholders who are addressing the auditors to just get their feel when it comes to resilience in their line of work and how they can manage fraud in the internal control system and them as a people. So I hand it back to you, Ben Troy Mchue, to continue with the updates.
Thank you so much, June Karisa, live from Mombasa, where the 18th annual Internal Auditors Association are currently meeting there to deliberate on aspects when it comes to matters internal audit, and of course we will be bringing a much comprehensive report on the same. But because of interest of time, allow me to go back to our discussion when we're talking about Nakuru being conferred the city status. Is just one step, and that is the president giving it a city charter. And joining me is Chairman Emeritus of the Transition Authority of Kenya, Kinuthia Wamwangi. Of course, we were looking at, before we crossed over to Mombasa, on what it takes for a city or for a town to become a municipality. You said it's a transition process, and be given a city charter, the population and everything. Yes.
Yes, I was the committee.
Yes.
It was constituted by the minister. That committee gives the report to the governor. The governor takes it to his executive, his cabinet. They agree, they adopt it. Once they adopt it, then he takes it to the assembly, the county assembly. The county assembly studies it. If it agrees, it approves it. Once the county assembly approves it, then the governor takes the same approval to the Senate. The Senate will also study it and also approve or disapprove. Once they approve, like they have done in the case of Nakuru, which means the committee did a very good job, then the Senate forwards that report to the president for the award of the charter.
Do we have a timeline on since the county assembly and the Senate approves before it is handed to the president?
Well, I'm not aware of any timeline. I think it is the efficacy of speed and how you as a governor, you are driving the process.
So how are Nakuru residents and of course Kenya going to benefit by the charter that is going to be awarded to Nakuru?
Well, as I said, one, it is a very, I come from Nakuru myself. So it is a kind of status symbol. It's a status symbol, really. If you come from Kisumu City or Nakuru City, you feel you are great, you know, you are advanced. Besides that, which is a psychological thing, I said in Schedule 1 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act, there are those services that a county is supposed to render or a city is supposed to render. And because you have said you are able to render those services, then you have to provide them. You see, like now when you say you're able to provide for sports, you have seen Governor Kinyanjui is now modernizing the stadium and making it possible to make it a hub of sports. Cemeteries. I don't know what they will do with the cemetery because, and I'm not accusing them, but I think they don't have adequate cemeteries. But they have to provide that. They have adequate hospitals, and they are expanding hospital facilities. I think Governor Kinyanjui alluded to even creating a trauma center. Those are the health services, this waste disposal, all those things. So they are expanded services. So the population will benefit, and we talk of roads, we talk of transport management, and I think this has been done before. If you have been hearing noise, Nakuru has been trying to manage matatu transportation in Nakuru. It has also trying to manage roads and transit and the walking areas by demolishing necessary structures, blocking roads and things like that. A lot of things has been going on. So you end up with a more a cleaner, better managed city with more services, better roads, better health facilities, and all those things, better water systems, and all those things that you really require. But let us consider one thing. It's not a question that probably the services may be enhanced for the individual, because the same person would be enjoying an equal standard.
If it wasn't a city.
If it wasn't a city.
Yes.
But what this city has done is to ensure that, because it's population-based, is to ensure that as it grows, it does not fall behind in giving the same standard to each and every citizen, right? So it says that a county, a city has to be 250 and above.
Population, 250,000 people and above.
250,000. Nakuru has about 510.
Okay.
Kisumu has about Kisumu has 750. Mombasa has 1.2. Nairobi has 4.8. So it means those services that you're supposed to render, each individual living in your area is able to enjoy the same, notwithstanding that there are more people living in that space than in another smaller place. So it's a guarantee as a city that you'll be able to offer services on a standard equal to the defined standard of services. Yes. So you have more hospitals and whatever. Yes.
Better infrastructure.
Yes.
Better service. Yes. Better service provision as well.
Yes. Yes.
And looking at the charter that Nakuru, we're hoping will be awarded by the president.
Yes.
could it give rise to other towns or municipalities, like perhaps Kiambu, Eldoret, to seek elevation to city status? Because they have the numbers, right? And the infrastructure.
First of all, you know, when we took over the classification of municipalities and local authorities, we demoted all municipalities into town status.
Okay.
And we only remained with 2 municipalities, Nakuru and Eldoret, and 2 cities, Kisumu and Mombasa. 3 cities, Nairobi, Nakuru, and Nairobi, Kisumu, and Mombasa. All the others were town. But you have seen there's towns have been declared municipalities. And definitely we have gone through the procedure of declaring a municipality. Many of them have not followed the procedure. So some of them are irregular municipalities. Because even when you become a city, there is something called the structure and management of the city. So how you install your board, it must follow a certain procedure. Because, and this is not what you had asked me, but it's important to say here, the governors sometimes assume it's a question of appointing people and placing them in places. There are qualifications. There is competitiveness. And it says which positions shall be competitive and which shall do whatever. So, having said that, there's no doubt, even 3 or 4 municipalities now can easily apply to be cities. It's not a question of even lining up. So I expect Eldoret to be to follow suit. Ruiru, do you know Ruiru? It has 470,000 people.
Ruiru alone?
Ruiru alone.
Yes.
Ruiru alone.
Yes.
Thika has 250. So I will not be surprised if those 2 applied to be a city. Kikuyu has 400 and...
so we have so many towns that
we can easily have 3 cities in Kiambu. Because Kikuyu has a population of 400 and... But the important thing, does Kikuyu have the same kind of and level of services as Thika? Does Ruiru have the same level of services as Thika? Because I think when it comes to the level of services, Thika has better services than Ruiru, or because these are towns that have developed as rural towns.
And how management of resources change when a municipality is conferred the city status?
First of all, you know, now they manage, a city manages, there are 2 streams of governance in a county. There is what you would call the rural stream and the urban stream. The urban stream is the one that has those market, town, and cities. Town, municipal, and cities. The other one is sub-counties. So sub-counties are kind of rural entities that are directly managed by the headquarters. A municipality, a town council, and a city are managed by boards or town committee. Municipality and the city are managed by boards for and on behalf of the county, or with delegated powers. A town, the same. It's run by the committee with delegated powers. So there, the management is different because they run the affairs of their jurisdiction on behalf of the county. Now, as far as then is concerned, is that they will be held responsible for they will take custody of all the assets of the county that are in that jurisdiction, and they will account for them. Yes. So whatever county assets are in Nakuru, they will be under the custody of the municipal board, of the county, of the city board of Nakuru. So for utilization and for preservation. Yes.
And we had Governor Kenyanjui talking about revenue authority.
Yes.
The county.
Yes.
Revenue authority.
Yes.
How is it likely to change, and should people expect
must intensify collection of their own revenue to meet the demands of the citizens and the needs of the citizens. So own revenue is very important, and therefore a revenue authority is a very important entity because it kind of professionalizes the way revenue is collected, and it's more focused, it's more accountable, and it's more targeted towards that function. So I think it's an efficient way of ensuring that own revenue is collected in the right manner, using technology and using all other means.
Do you expect perhaps some added allocation from the national government, since now Nakuru will be tasked with also being the 4th city?
It is not the status. It's not the status. It's not your status that just because you are a city now that you are given an added. There is a formula, revenue sharing formula, that has been worked, and you found there was a big debate in Senate. So that is the formula that will be used. They use population, they use maybe the agricultural land you have, they use all those criteria which they set. So it is those criteria that apply to you that will determine the amount of money that you are going to get, even as a city. Yes. A population being one of them.
Yes.
Yes.
And of course, balancing between revenue collection and also business cost and expenses for a city is a challenge, right?
Yes, it's a very major whatever. But then that's why you said, don't go into a level that you cannot sustain. Stay on your lane. So if you can't sustain the level of services that are required for a city, don't go there. Don't go there just for status. Go there because you are able. So, and you must now look at your resources and your catchment of revenue and what comes in from other sources, and determine whether you're able to maintain that level of standard. Because there are services that you're required to provide as a city that are not in the municipality or in the town or in the market center. Yes. So you are taking a higher responsibility of giving more services to the people. So don't go there if you can't do it. Yes.
And how did the management of urban areas change after this transition from we had local authorities now to county governments?
Yes. You see, local authorities meant different status of local authorities.
Yes.
We had what you call urban authorities, we had town councils, we had municipalities, and we had county councils. So all that were cramped into a county government, to a county, and now the new structure has been redefined by the Urban Areas and Cities Act, and also by the County Governments Act. You see, so that any entity that is within an urban area is governed according to Urban Areas and Cities Act. And we created, the Transitional Authority created, you know, we are the ones who actually instigated, and we actually did the draft for this Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Act. So in there, we created the market center. Any center that has 2,000 people and above was recognized as urban, so that it can begin to be looked after and given urban services before it becomes a slum. So it must be given all the services that are required. So we created those levels, and the Act recognizes an urban area. So what happened is that all urban areas are managed according to the Urban and Cities Act, and all rural areas are governed according to the County Governments Act. Yes. So that you find that the boards and the city and municipal boards run the urban areas. A town is run by a committee, whereas the rural is run according to a ward. There is a ward administrator. There is a sub-county administrator. Yeah, you don't find those people in the urban areas.
Yes.
They're in the rural areas.
Yes. And a quick one. Do we expect, I know Governor Kinyanjui talked about we're not going to change the levies, we're not going to change the land rates and stuff.
Yes.
We know very well even business permits in the 3 cities that we currently have are quite high. Do you expect perhaps a change on that as we wind up?
You see, these things are incremental, like rates. You revise your rates every 10 years. And you know, this has been the thing even when I was a town clerk more than 40 years ago. Every so often, you revised your rates. You revised your fees and charges. You revised your licenses. So that will be incremental. It will be going on. Not because you want to punish people because you are a city, but because it is a procedure. Because services, once they become more costly, people have also to help in meeting the cost.
Final words.
Yes.
Chairman Emeritus, are you still doing matters transition?
I don't do matters transition because that was an official function, but I'm doing matters transition in the sense that now I have started documenting all the things we are talking about. I have ordained to put in place 3 books. One is on decentralization dialogue, so that to tell you where we came from in the whole of Africa. Then I want to give my own experience in midwifing devolution in Kenya. Then I want to give the conceptual framework in a book called Devolution in Kenya, Myth or Reality. So I'll define the conceptual framework in one book, my own experience, which is like a political book, and where we came from. How did we end up in being a devolved state? I worked in a regional office where I was ministering to countries in Eastern and Southern Africa. So I want to tell people that story, how we ended up here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And in case you've just joined us, I was speaking to Chairman Emeritus of the Transition Authority of Kenya that had been mandated with the 47 counties. If you remember, they actually completed their work 5 years ago, but we still feel those effects, and we shall feel them as years come and go. That was Kenodia Wamwangi. Thank you so much, and all the best in the books. We'll be able to understand exactly what devolution is. But now I have to give the baton to Suleiman Yeri, who will be handling Tamrini. My name is Ben Troinjue, and Anwangeshi has been our sign language interpreter for this afternoon.
Greatest rally in the world is back in Kenya. Catch all the action of WRC Safari Rally live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 from 24th to 27th June. See the world's best drivers navigate their machines on Kenya's rough terrain at breakneck speeds. Experience the thrills, adrenaline, drama and excitement as man and machine do battle. Don't miss out. WRC Safari Rally, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Was it you?
He has a gift for you. Take a look. What's wrong? You said Yuko abandoned him and his mum, and that's why his mother died. Is that right?
Can you see me, Daddy? I'm on the big wheel. Can you see me? Dad, can you see me? Dad, did you abandon me and Mom?
Peter, wake up! Don't scare me. Are you okay?
Next on.
Hakuna nipatai kabisa.
Hebu ngoja usifiwe hata kujisifu mwenyewe.
Wanisifu kitambo. Wewe ushaona mimi nikikaa hapa bila kupata wateja? Wewe Aisha. Sasa ukibaifa ndio maisha hivi.
Nafanya mazoezi lakini huu mchanga huu.
Mazoezi ya nini? Mazoezi gani?
Si ya ile kazi niliyopata, sinaanza mwezi ujao.
Nini inaendelea? Wewe Sudi, ni mambo gani haya? Sudi ni nani? Sudi ni mimi. Hata nguo zangu unavaa. Basi. Chalo. Who is the boss here? Ni wewe. Then who is this?
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Was it you?
He has a gift for you. Take a look. What's wrong? You said you abandoned him and his mom, and that's why his mother died. Is that right?
Can you see me, Daddy? I'm on the big wheel. Can you see me, Dad? Can you see me? Dad, did you abandon me and Mom?
Deshaun, wake up! Don't scare me. Are you okay?
Next on.
Wazee wa majanga. Hawa wanaishi kwa vituko. Mambo yao ya kubwaga majanga kila leo.
Ule mkataba ndio huu.
07-184-1000-8820.
Hizi namba zote hizi za nini?
Probox. Hii sio karatasi ya mkataba.
Game is over.
Wazungu sema talk.
Next on.
Jobless with Lord. Let's hold the joy coming. We standing on the rock, on the victory rock, yeah. Every day we are go fight. I think it's best that you forget me. Running away from this system. I'm running away from Babylon. I'll show you my heart is pure. Oh yes, better than before.
Next on.
Mara ya mwisho ulikuwa na Nancy Likoen.
I know they'll be coming for me soon.
Sichukue ndege moja uende South Africa ukajifishage huko.
I have built too much here in Kenya to just walk away.
Nimejaribu kusikiliza Kenya Tiffany walikuwa napiana na Eriko hapa nje nikasindo.
Nani alikuwa amekutuma? Wayuni kuongea ukweli tu ukweli. Sasa nani alikuwa amekutuma? Wewe. Mlikuwa mnapiana nini? Na nani? Sina Tiffany. Mbona? Nataka nijue kama ndiko kasi.
Someone you can leave. I'm sure Wayuni will feel in.
Oh.
Maji mimi hata niliashaga obea na udaku. Siku hizi mimi nikiongeleshwa na mtu kitu inaisiaga hapo hapo.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
You have killed it. The love that I had for you on that very day you married my brother.
Amaya married Cesar, and Max and Constanza are back together again because of their child.
Lucretia is capable of anything, even getting rid of anyone in her way. Like Omar.
But if Cesar is not Mr. Mauro's son, some hope has opened up for me, Caro. Because once I get to the truth, I don't know in what form or in what manner, but I will fight to my last breath for the love of Max.
I'm almost sure that those two had an accomplice here inside. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made it.
And if I don't want her near me, it's to protect her. It's for her own good.
To protect her from whom?
I feel like I'm failing in what I was put on this earth to do. I want to make a difference, like you did.
You never underestimate the power of grace.
Listen, Donald, I'm sick about the mayor's family. I was called to minister to people. That's what Mac's doing in my life, Deborah. Showing me what my heart really is.
So you thought you
Just answer me this, Sam. What is there to believe in, man?
I know we in this together, Mac.
You do, so we think that you're good.
I promise to pray for you every day, ask your forgiveness, grant you the same, and be your friend always. That is the grace card.
The grace card.
Next on.
Mimi kwanza nina kizunguzungu, niweke tu chai kwanza.
Kizunguzungu ishindwe hapa, tuzi kizunguzungu. Ngoja kidogo mwanaume, kaa hapo. Ngoja nikusafu hata kama ndazi ngapi?
Lete zote.
Ati zote. Leteni pesa kwanza. Mtoe pesa kwanza.
Unajua sisi na kina nani? Natuuliza hiyo swali.
Haya, chini hapo. Unataka tu tunarudi hapa kwa mara ngapi?
leo ndio nilikuwa najaribu yani.
Unajaribu nini? Ongea haraka.
Hebu ongea haraka. Nilikuwa najaribu leo ya mwisho.
Kaa chini. Ni mara ngapi tutakuwa tunakuja tunakwambia ufunge biashara yako hapa? Kaa chini.
Kaa chini madam.
Huo ni ungwana.
Shukran sana. Ni mchana mwingine maridhawa kabisa tunapoungana kwenye kipindi hiki cha Tamrini ya Channel 1, ikiwa ni tarehe 8 mwezi wa Juni mwaka 2021. Nikukaribishe kwa moyo mkunjufu kabisa, ikiwa ni faraja yangu kuungana nawe mchana huu, ikiwa nimekuandalia mengi mchana huu kuweza kuzungumza naye hapa mchanganuzi wa masuala ya siasa, vile vile mfanya biashara Bi Sylvia Mulama, ambaye leo hii tunataka kuangalia uwakilishi wa wanawake bungeni. Je, cheo hiki ama wadhifa huu umuhimu wake ni gani? Ulikujaje na ulibuniwa vipi? Kuna wengi wanadhani kwamba uwakilishi huu ama nafasi hii hata mwanaume anaweza kupigania, kwa sababu kuna wakati tuliona pia kukitengenezwa picha zile ama kukitengenezwa nembo mbalimbali zikibandikwa na wengine wakisema kwamba wanataka kuwania wadhifa wa uwakilishi wa wanawake. Je, ni sawa? Je, nafasi hizi 47 ambazo zipo katika bunge la kitaifa tunaweza kuzifananisha na nafasi zile nyingine ambazo zipo bungeni zaidi ya 110 za maeneo bunge mbalimbali? Je, wadhifa wao na wabunge wengine ni sawa? Ni miongoni mwa masuala ambayo tutakuwa tukiyapigia mbizi asubuhi hii ama mchana huu kuweza kufahamu kwa kina nafasi hiyo ya uwakilishi wa kike ni vipi. Mimi naitwa Suleiman Yeri. Unaweza nifuata katika mitandao ya kijamii @Suleiman Yeri, vile vile zungumza nasi kwenye mitandao yetu @KBC Channel 1 uweze kutupatia maoni yako na vile vile swali lako, unataka kufahamu nini kuhusiana na uwakilishi wa kike. Karibu sana Bi Sylvia Mulama mchana huu kwenye kipindi chetu hiki cha Tamrini. Sijui unaendeleaje na unahisi vipi sasa hivi? Nataka tu kuanza na swali la uchokozi. Taifa unalionaje?
Taifa la Kenya sasa hivi? Kwanza shukran kunialika kwa Tamrini leo. Kwa majina naitwa Sylvia Mulama, na saa hizi Kenya iko kwa hali ya ni kama dunia nzima tuko kwa uhali wa taswisi, ile ambayo unaita anxiety and uncertainty. Na of course imesababishwa na COVID, na kwa sababu tuko nation ambayo bado ni changa sana, tumepata changamoto mingi sana. Na inaonekana kwa uchumi, chakula ni imepanda bei, watu wanaumia, vijana hawana kazi, watu wengi sana wamefutwa kazi juu ya hii coronavirus. Na kwa hivyo saa hizi tuko kwa ile situation ambayo ni uncertainty, nikisema hivyo.
Tuanze tu moja kwa moja. Wadhifa wa uwakilishi wa wanawake, wengi wanaojua kama woman representative katika bunge la kitaifa. Labda cheo hichi ama wadhifa huu ulibuniwa kupitia katiba ya mwaka 2010, ndipo ulipotengwa katika kuwa miongoni mwa nyadhifa ambazo zitakuwa zikigombaniwa katika uchaguzi. Je, wadhifa huu una maana gani na una manufaa gani kwa Mkenya na ulikujaje?
Kwanza ni shukran kwa mzee Kibaki kuchukua hiyo hatua na kusema tutengenezea katiba ambayo italeta maslahi ya wanawake kwenye bunge, na kuweka hiyo article ya kuweka women representative ambao ni 47 ilikuwa ni kubalance wale wanawake ambao wana represent country kwenye parliament. Kwa sababu kwa muda tangu tupate independence tumekuwa sana majority kwa government ni wanaume, lakini sasa tumepata hiyo nafsi ya women representatives. Hata kama haijafikia pale nitakana ifike 47